Good morning, everyone. This is Mr. Shields back again with another video. Today we're going over an old topic, one that I think is going to be really important for you guys, especially next year for your next level of math, whether or not it's geometry, algebra 2, or AFTA. So what we're going to be talking about are solving multi-step equations with variables on both sides here. And if you'll notice on the paper, I've listed for you the 4 steps. Step 1, distribute if necessary. Step 2, that's CLT, combine like terms. Step 3, move variables to one side. And then finally, go ahead and solve the problem. So let's get right into our first example here, number 1. And I'm going to draw a little line right in between here. And what you should notice is that you have the variable y here on the left-hand side and also on the right-hand side. So with that in mind, if we look at step 1, we don't have to distribute, so we're pretty good on that front. So step 2, combine like terms. Let's see if we can get those variables together here. So I have a positive 3y, and if I want to move it over to the left-hand side, that positive will become a negative as I subtract it. Okay, I'll draw my line underneath here. And so 5 minus 3 is going to give me a 2y. This is going to cancel out. And then I'll just bring down what I have left here. Minus 8 equals 12. And then it just becomes a regular 2-step equation that we've done quite a bit in this class. So I have that minus 8. I'm going to do the opposite or the inverse. I'm going to add 8, and then I'm going to have 2y equals 12 plus 8 is 20. So 2y equals 20. And then to finish this problem off, since this is telling me 2 times y, I'm going to do the opposite of multiplication here and then divide by 2. So I'm going to have y equals 10 as my final answer here. Now let me go ahead and highlight that. Okay, so taking a look at example 3. Is there anything to distribute? Well, no. And quite frankly, on this front page, we're not really going to have too much to distribute, so we're really just going to get right into step number 2, combining like terms. So this time my variable is a k, and I want to bring my variable over to the left-hand side here. You don't have to necessarily, but I try to keep it consistent and just move it to the left-hand side. There'll be times where it is better to actually move it over to the right-hand side, but for the purposes of this example, I have a positive 3k here, so I'm going to take the inverse of that, subtract 3k to the other side, draw my line underneath. So 7k minus 3k will give me a 4k equals a negative 36. Don't forget to bring down that sign. It really matters here. And then once again, like with the previous problem, I have 4 times k, so I'll take the inverse and divide by 4. And so I have k equals negative 9. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and highlight my answer here. It equals negative 9. All right, and then the last example on this page here, I have number 5 here. So I have 11 minus m equals 51 minus 6m. So if we look back at our steps here, we don't really have anything to distribute. So we're going right into step number 2 and combine like terms here. So I'm going to slide it back on down here. And so my variable in this equation happens to be an m. Now, like I said before, you could easily move that minus m over here by adding it. But in this case, I'm going to stay consistent and move my variable over to the left-hand side. So I have a minus 6m, so I'm going to take the inverse of that and add 6m over here to this side. Okay, so what's going to happen? The negative 6m plus 6 is going to cancel out. So then we'll be left with a positive 51 equals 11. So this imaginary negative 1 is here. So negative 1 plus 6 will give me a positive 5m. Okay, and now we're down to a 2-step equation. All right, so I'm going to have to get that 11 to move over here. So I have a positive 11, so I'm going to subtract by 11, okay? And then once I do that, I'm going to be left with 5m equals 40. Okay, slide it up a little bit further here. And since I have a 5 times m, I'm going to take the inverse here and divide by 5, and I'm going to have m equals 8. I'll circle my answer. So for those of you who felt really comfortable when we did our equations unit back in, I think it was October or September, this should be pretty straightforward to you guys. Those of you who weren't too comfortable with it, well, this is an opportunity to improve on those skills. So I'm going to go ahead and flip it to the back page here, and I'm going to do 3 more problems. Slide it on down here. And so if I take a look at the example here, number 7, this is one where we finally have to do a little distribution here. So let me just move this out of the way. So when we distribute, we're going to take that number on the outside of the parentheses. We draw our arrows to remind us that we're going to have to multiply a couple of times here. So let's take a look at this number. So we have 3 on the outside times 6, which is going to give me an 18p. And then I'm going to have 3 times that negative 1 here, or that minus 1, which will give me a minus 3. And then I can bring down what's on my right-hand side. So I'm going to have 11p minus 45. And now this problem looks awfully similar to what we had on the very front page when we were doing these problems here. And so I want to bring my variables together. So I have p as my variable. So I have a positive 11p. So I'm going to do the inverse here and subtract 11p to the other side. And so here it's going to cancel out. And I'll be left with a negative 45 on this side. Over here, 18 minus 11, that's just going to give me a 7p minus 3. And I'm left with a 2-step equation here. So I'm going to do the inverse here. I have a minus 3. So I'm going to add 3 to the other side. And then I'm going to be left with a negative 42 equals 7p. This is going to cancel out. And finally, we have 7 times p. I'm going to do the inverse of that and just divide by 7. So p equals negative 6. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and highlight my final answer here. Circle it too. All right. Taking a look at number 8 here. And there's a lot going, I'm sorry, number 9. And there's a lot going on with number 9 here. So we're going to have to distribute, as you can probably tell, with number 9. And then I'm also going to have to combine some like terms on that left-hand side. I can already tell that. I'm going to draw my line down the middle like we've done in our previous examples here. And so I have that 9 on outside of the parentheses. So I'm going to draw my arrows. So that tells me I'm going to have to multiply twice, not just one time, but twice. So 9 times m is going to give me 9m. And then 9 times that minus 3 is going to give me a minus 27 plus the 3m that's already there equals 7m plus 43. And hopefully I have enough space. I do apologize for the camera here. It seems like it's focusing in and out on this. So on the left-hand side, before I can start to move things around, I want to see if I can combine like terms. If you remember from the front page, that's our second step. So I have a 9m here, and I have a 3m that I can combine. All right, and so 9 plus 3 is going to give me that 12m minus 27 equals that 7m plus 43. All right, so we had to distribute first, combine like terms on that same side, and now we can start moving those variables over, okay? So I have that 7m that I want to move over to the left-hand side. And since it's positive, I'll take the inverse and subtract by 7. And so we're going to be left with a 5m minus 27 equals that 43. So we have a regular 2-step equation from here. Now I'm going to have that minus 27, and I'm going to move it over by doing the inverse. So I'm going to add the 27. So I'm going to have 5m equals 70. All right. And then I'm going to finish this all up by just dividing by 5. Don't have much space here, but I can just write the answer over here. M equals 14. So just highlight my answer here. And I'll do one more example with you guys here on these variables with both sides here. So taking a look at number 11, move this up just a little bit. And so if I take a look at 11, looks like I'm gonna have to distribute on both sides before I can actually get into solving this problem. So let's go ahead and draw our line right down the middle here. And then if I look on the left-hand side, you'll notice I just have a minus sign here. But as you guys probably remember this is an imaginary -1 that's over here, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and distribute that -1. Okay, so I'm gonna have 5x, and bring that down. Then -1 times x, that's just gonna be a -1x. You don't have to write the 1 here, you can if you want. -1 times a -18 is going to be a +18. Okay. Now, looking at the right-hand side here, I'm going to distribute. I have that -2 that has to be distributed. I'm going to bring down my 6. And then if we take a look here, -2 times x is going to be -2x. And then -2 times 15 will give me a -30. Now, some of you, and you know who you are going to go rush ahead and move that 2x over here to the other side. That would be a mistake, because if you remember, step 2 tells me I have to combine like terms on each side. So if I look over here, I'm going to have to combine some like terms. And my two like terms are 5x and the -x. So I'm going to circle those. And so 5 minus 1x is just going to be a 4x. And then we have the +18. Now, what about on the right-hand side? Well, I have a 6 that I can combine over here with a -30. All right, and when I combine those, 6 minus 30, that's just going to be a -24. And then I'll bring down the -2x. So what I need to do now, or get my variables on the same side, I have a -2x here. And I'm going to try to slide that over here to the left-hand side. And by taking the inverse, so I'm going to add by 2x. When I do that, this is going to cancel out. And when I combine these two, I'm going to have 6x plus 18 equals a -24. Now, I'm going to move that +18 over to the other side here by taking its inverse. So then I will subtract 18, and I'll have 6x equals, looks like I'm going to get a nice size number here. I'm going to have a -42 over here on the right-hand side. And then the final step, 6 times x, we'll take the inverse of that and divide by 6. And so we're going to have x equals -7 here. All right, so that was a review of multi-step equations with variables on both sides. Make sure when you are completing your classwork for us that you show all of your work, just like I did on all of the examples here. If you do not show me all of your work, I will be giving you a grade of an incomplete. So make sure you're showing me all your steps when you submit them to me. All right, guys, I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Peace.